Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of A Million Minds with Anita and Hirot. How are you?
Good. How are you? How have you
Fine.
been?
Good.
Good.
Busy as always.
That's good.
Okay. Let's start with actually starting over. What do you think it's do you think it's a failure if you start over, or do you have unlimited chances?
In life,
Yeah.
it depends. Generally, no. I think no. Personally, generally, no.
Know what?
It's not a failure.
Okay.
You have unlimited chances.
Okay.
But then the problem becomes when you make the same mistake
Yeah.
twice or more,
Yeah.
then that's when things start falling apart. And mostly because you're making the same mistakes by accident or just not caring about things. And if you repeat doing the same thing, what it will do to you is it will it will create that image in your head that you'll be disappointed at yourself
Yeah.
with yourself, and overall you'll just feel low after that. And once that happens, you'll make more mistakes,
Yeah.
because you're kind of losing your confidence, you lose your judgment. So then you make more mistakes.
True.
It's very routine for people to break up in a bad relationship. Their friends tell them, their parents tell them, I don't know. And maybe after a few years or a few months, something like this. And then do worse the next time, you know? So especially if this is their second breakup, so they have a relationship. Let me just put this in one piece. So if you have a relationship for let's say 2 years and it's bad, from day one all the way to year two, it's bad. You're just in it because of wrong reasons, or it's just because deep down you're lonely and you just like to be with this person. And maybe even some of your friends and family and people who know you tells you these things, but you push through the 2 years. Once you eventually break up and that chapter is closed and you start another one, and after 1 or 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, same thing happens. After that, it's very easy to go downhill,
Yeah.
to just have it worse and worse. um, and I'm saying if these two relationships were bad, I'm not saying that okay, one time you had a fight,
Of course.
one time you had a fight, it's okay,
Continuous
it's normal. It's just
problems.
continuous problems, and especially when it's not your person, you're not on the same wavelength, kind of thing. When you've had a whole like absolute mismatch, from day one. When you had two of those relationships, then it gets worse and worse. I've seen it in people. Well, there is the exceptions always, right? That they've had two terrible relationships and now they're with someone married, all good.
There are even people that have a terrible relationship with someone and then they have a relationship with someone else. They don't end up with that person. And they end up with the first one that was a very bad relationship at the beginning, but then they start again and it's perfect and they stay
These are,
together
yes,
forever.
okay. These
But
are
this
extreme
is very
exceptions.
extreme,
Exceptions.
extremely rare. Yeah.
Yeah. But usually, after two bad relationships, the third one is going to be worse.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's because people give up. When you had one bad thing, you sit to yourself, you're like, I need to do it better next time, right? And if you manage to, you save yourself. If you do the same or worse, um, the third time you don't think to yourself, let me make it better. You give up. You're like, whatever, I don't care anymore. You start being stubborn to yourself, with yourself, within yourself.
In Spanish, we have a saying that says humans are the only animal that trips over the same stone 3 times.
Hmm.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's the only one that
And
actually makes the same mistake a few times.
and I tell you what the reason is. If that's happening, you have some traumas and you have insecurities and traumas that you try to avoid their existence within yourself. So there are things deep down that you need to see people for help, you know, especially professional help. But then you don't want to admit that they are there, and if you don't admit they're there, you can never see a therapist, because you will be asking, why am I going there
Yeah.
if there is no issue?
Everything's fine.
Yeah. But anyway, so then this is the problem. You don't fix them, and this is why every time you do the same mistake, because it's you wanting to be something else, and you can't do it just right. It's a very complicated but very easy thing at the same time if you get it. If you get why certain people have certain choices with their toxic relationships, why they choose certain people, you see the pattern clearly, especially if you stand and look at it from the outside. If you're
Yeah.
not one of them in the relationship or too close emotionally attached, if you're unbiased, you can see it better.
Yeah, you
You
can
can see
see
how,
the
when you are a
pattern.
friend for 10 years and, you've seen all the people she dates and chooses and, has been in relationships with, you see the pattern
Yeah.
when you look at the bigger picture of a 10-year
There are so
period.
many girls, for example, that always are asking to themselves, like, why do all the bad men come to me? Why all do the wrong men come to me? Why can I not have a good one? And it comes from a pattern. They don't realize it comes from a pattern. Maybe they
Well,
don't realize
it doesn't come from a pattern. They are the
they
pattern.
are the pattern. Yeah,
It
well, but
comes
they don't
from
realize
their
it.
childhood.
Yeah.
But they need to see even if it's a guy, it doesn't matter whether it's a girl or a guy. Same for a guy. There are guys who
Yeah,
like
same.
random weird scenarios in relationships. They prefer it. And if you go back, there's usually a lack of love
Yeah,
from society, from family, from parents, from siblings. Usually that's the case,
yeah.
90% of the time. And other things always affected as well. Things they saw, movies, things like this. Always, that's why there is ratings for movies. Not everything is, allowed for all ages. But it's mostly, if I want to say the main cause, these insecurities and traumas, it's love. It's lack of love. You
Mhm.
didn't get enough
Enough.
love in all directions, because there's different types of love.
Yeah,
You didn't get them.
that's also true. But let's go to back to starting over in other matters as well. Like, for example, if you've had, you know,
With career,
a
things like that, it's so much
career.
easier.
Mm.
It's so much easier for a career to do a do-over, you
Do
know?
you think so?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it can be
I
easier,
know
but
people.
also it depends. It varies person by person.
Look, like in England, if you want to become a GP, there's a test for it. Except the A levels you do and all of that, there's a test for it. You know it. The GCSE, you you do your A levels, all of that, and then you have a test particular for this, right? If you fail it, you cannot retake it next year. You have to do a whole degree to be able to get the chance to do that test again. So if you want to be a doctor and you fail it, you have to do, I don't know, biology in university, right? You study that 3 years, you finish off, and then you do the test again. If you fail, you gotta do another one, another random course you gotta do. Within the same category. So I know people who had done the test 3 times to get in, meaning they have two
They have
extra.
3 degrees
Yes, they have.
of how many? Because medicine, it's not.
That's
Um,
6, 7 years,
that's
6
six,
years
7 years on
itself.
its own.
Yeah, in
So
UK
they've
it's
been
like
20
6.
years on.
No, no, because the first courses you can do one that is 3 years.
Okay,
You can do just biology.
okay.
Okay. Next one, neuroscience. Okay. Next, you know what I mean? Like you
Mm,
do 3 and 3, so that's 6, and then 6, 12. That's
right.
after diploma. Yeah. So they
Okay,
get to
but
be a
12
doctor
is a
at
lot.
30 something years old.
12 is a lot.
I know people who are like right now, I know close friends who've done this. And it was the determination. They wanted to be a doctor, right? But these
It's
tests
not
are very
like
hard.
the bar exam that you can retake it next year for a lawyer, for
No,
example.
it depends. Some countries allow it, like you can do it next year. Some people, you just. I think in Iran you can do it as well. You just not go to uni if you don't get whatever you're looking for, whether it's a doctor or an engineer or whatever it is, and then do the entry test again next year. You keep doing it till you get it. But once a year you can do it. This one, no. In UK, I haven't done biology at all, but I know from people that you cannot retake the test next year. You have to go do a whole degree. After that, you're given the chance again.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So every time you miss, that's 3 years
Mm-hmm.
of waiting, 3 years of paying university again for that course. You don't go do it for free. Even if you're a British person, you have to pay whatever, 9,000,
Yeah.
10,000 pounds a year. So you have to do that. You have to do the work, pass the tests, get a good result. If you don't get a good result, you might not be given the chance to do that test for the GP again. That they look at what you did in these 3 years. That's the whole point. So you have to do good in that. You can't just
Yeah. Let go.
fail it. It's a long process. So the point is, you can do do overs. You can redo it,
Mhm.
and he's fine. Look, 12 years, but he's now a doctor, and he's been a doctor a couple of years now.
How many of
Worked
these
out.
companies have started over after so many failures, like
Yeah,
Amazon,
I think
Google,
it's easy because the
Apple?
thing is, because it's a in non-emotional things, it's easier because you look at your mistakes, you kind of like take a lesson, you don't take it personal, and you move on. You don't, when you did your marketing campaign and it didn't work and you went bankrupt, you don't think, oh, I got betrayed by Meta. Like you didn't get cheated on by Google paid ads.
Yeah.
you know like obviously you lost money on it, but you kind of move on.
Yeah.
you know there's only the part that of the losing part that might make it emotionally, put you in some sort of disadvantage. But the rest of it is pretty plain. Like, you don't ever think anyone had any, bad blood with me.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for reasons. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's the reason is, you having an argument and moving away from with your business partner, and things fall apart. Even if that's the case, you don't look at as emotional. But in relationships, it's, whether it's a traditional relationship as in like husband and wife, or relationship with your sibling, or these ones, people take it personal.
Mm.
you know they start thinking about all the things they did, all the favors they did, all the promises, all of this starts kicking in. It's way harder to just move past you think to yourself, I got used and all of that. But when you fail in a business, you don't say, oh, I got used by my landlord. No.
Yeah.
You paid rent, you did something,
It didn't
it didn't
work.
work for you. The landlord doesn't even know your name. You're a tenant to him in a shopping center. He has another 2,000 shops there. It's not even a him. It's a whole company. He has so it's nothing personal. You don't think, all of that. But when things go wrong in a relationship, even if the partner wasn't using you, it feels that way
Yeah.
for everyone, pretty much.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own side of the story, But with
And you
business,
always have to listen to
yeah.
both.
But for example, you start working as an electronic engineer. You do PLC design, okay, and then you decide you don't like it. You want to become a software engineer. Not that close, but pretty close. So you start, deviating and getting into that. It's fine. You don't think, oh, those 2 years I did as a PLC engineer, I wasted my time. You never think these things. That's why it's so much easier to move, you know. But in relation, but also have this in mind with career. If you in any kind of field, most fields, if you get stuck in one field, particular branch, being very professional in one particular thing, it's very hard to move industry,
True.
or even branch
True.
within the industry. Purely from a perspective of a recruiter,
Okay.
HR. When HR looks at your resume and you've applied to do something, more software or something like that, for example, the same example as an engineer, as an electronic engineer, and they see, oh, you've done 6 years PLC with Siemens, 4 years PLC with Bosch, and now they put that CV in the bin. Not because you're unqualified, but because you are the PLC guy now.
Yeah.
Good luck changing.
Yeah.
They will not change. Why? Because you have for what did I say? 7 and 4. Did I say?
Yeah.
You have 11 years of professional doing that one particular thing all the time. So now when you want to completely change, everyone's like, no, no one wants you. Why? Because there's few things that go into it as well. When you move, you need trainings again. Now, let's say they do the training, but then they can't pay you as an absolute amateur because you have 11 years experience in the industry. It's not relevant because you're doing something a little bit different, so you need training in this. But you know what I mean? So you have the experience. They cannot treat you as a graduate, 20-year-old graduate. You're someone in their 30s with, so much experience maybe you were even a project manager. They cannot downgrade, especially in a lot of countries like, Western countries. It works like that. For example, in Australia, they're very picky.
Mm-hmm.
You call the recruiter and say, can you find me, you can be perfect, PLC designer, and say, I want to change field. They will all pretty much tell you it's very hard, and these are recruiters, right? These are not people in that company. These are just to link an employee to a company.
Yeah.
They're in between. It's not that they have to train and it's hard for them, but they cannot. Their job is to convince the company to take this guy. They cannot.
Yeah.
They cannot convince the supervisor why this guy wants to change. You become stuck in that field. I've heard this from many people in Australia as well. Many people who are very professional people in things they've done for 10 to 15 years, they cannot change field anymore that easily. At the start, it's easy. At the start, you do 1 year here, you change, within your own company, you change even department. You go, I know even graduate programs in Australia, they even offer this. They propose it to their new graduates. So that when the electronic engineer comes, you know, as a graduate, they put him in different departments on trial and error basis. He works in this department for 3 months. He changes to this one 3 months. So they do this like for 2 years or 1 year, and then kind of like with his thoughts and the supervisors make a conclusion for him. You know, like together which category to stick with, or whether we keep him or he was not good for anything, we let him go. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So this actually happens at the start easier because you don't have experience in anything. You can be you can go back and forth. But when you get stuck in one field, you're a professional. It's very hard.
True.
Yeah. And as the age goes up, because they cannot underpay you. There are certain things that you gather with experience and university qualifications that raises your income on paper without you even with you being a graduate. So this becomes the problem.
True.
But otherwise in life, I think you can do do-overs. Definitely. Do-overs are fun. Everyone does do-overs. I was listening to managing partner of Damak Properties today, and he was saying, like this was literally I almost quote him, 90%. He said, "Look at all the entrepreneurs, who made it in their first go. Show me who made it in their first go. People who came from family of entrepreneurs. Their dad was an entrepreneur. Their grandfather was. They
And it
fail
was all
again.
prepared.
They fail again, yes, with good financial backup, with good connection, networking backup, with their brothers and fathers and everyone being entrepreneur. They still failed with new ideas because that's what it is. When you do something new, no one makes it in the first go. If you think you're gonna make it in the first go, I mean, there are people, but there's elements of luck and everything. Goes hand in hand. But most
What
people,
percentage? Like
I would say pretty
zero
much
point
zero.
0.5. Yeah. 0
Not even.
0.5%
Not even. Like it depends
of the
how big are we talking
of the
about the
people
success.
of the people that are very ambitious and are very big. That's what I'm talking about. Not of the
But
population
even like go look at how many companies Elon Musk
has.
shut down
Mm.
before his first big Tesla
Yeah.
that we don't know the names. I mean, I've seen it before, but I don't memorize it. That's a guy with ambition. You
Exactly.
know, you fail and you learn. So that's almost you can say we can do. It's not an absolute redo over.
Yeah.
Like to do it all over again, but it's a step. You can like kind of like when you hit a dead end, you kind of like move swiftly on the same wavelength and then continue, and then you hit a wall again, and then you move, continue. You know, it's like there is a concept in Iran, in traffic, when there is kind of like not absolute heavy traffic. When people are going, like cars are going 30, 40 kilometers an hour, cars go like a snake in between the traffic, in
Yeah.
between the lanes, which is illegal. If police sees you, he will not just fine you. He might even take your car to police station
Okay.
and take your license. But and in most countries it's the same thing. But in business that's a good thing. You know, you go when you hit a dead end, you kind of like stop, rethink. You know,
Where can I go?
yeah, reposition yourself and like try to go like from the sides to front again, and then eventually you'll hit a wall again. So that's the kind of motion you have to expect. If and to continue his quote, he was saying, if you don't think that you're gonna hit, have setbacks, drawbacks, and you think you're gonna make it on the first try, and you don't have that passion and derivative to keep going no matter how many times you fail, entrepreneurial life is not for you. Like that was his end note.
It's
Forget
true.
about it,
It's true.
because
You have to
it is
be fully driven to.
no fully driven, and you have to expect that to fail.
Yeah.
If you
It's there.
expect that I'm gonna do it different, good luck. You're in for a disappointment.
There is no one on this earth, I think, that has ever made like the very, very, very first go. You know,
Yeah, because
so something very big. I mean,
even
everyone
if you
has had
take
setbacks.
all the advice in the world,
Yeah.
you know, it's not you. And a lot of people don't even like advices. They need to try. Most people need to try things and fail firsthand to understand.
Yeah.
To understand what their father was telling them.
Yeah.
And then they will say this, they will try this, they will tell their sons, don't do this, I did this, it didn't fail. And if their son is like them, he will go fail and then learn the lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he
people
will
have to
say
learn
the
the
same to
lessons
his son,
themselves. They
and
have
he
to
will
feel it.
and he will say the same to his son,
Yes.
and the son will do the same.
But yes, but I think it's a good thing though. I think it's a good thing. You need to feel things firsthand to understand what it is. You can't just who are we, as humans, as male, as female, as men and women, to just go by, um, you know, experience and um, history and trial and errors of other people. What
Because it's
what life
never,
would it be?
because it's never the same situation. It's never
But
the
what
exact
life would it
same.
be,
Yeah.
even if it's the same situation?
Yeah.
What life would you live if you just do nothing but listen to your mom telling you how life is? You want to try it, no? It's like if you stand next to a water slide in a water park and everyone just goes down it, will that make you experience? You're seeing these people go, you'll see how
They
fast they go,
scream.
how the water goes everywhere. You see all of this. Do you not want to try it?
Yeah.
Would you be satisfied if you watched 100 of them fall down that slide in the day and go home and say, I was in a water park? No, you
No.
weren't. You just witnessed
Yeah.
people at a water park
Yeah.
pretty close up.
Yeah.
That's what you
Every day
did.
you see people driving a Ferrari, but like it's not there until you feel it with your
Exactly.
own hands.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to try it. And that's why but not everything should be tried.
Yeah.
And, when you try it, the good and bad comes together,
Of
all
course.
mixed up. So that's what happens.
Yeah.
So that's why people, even if there is like water splashed in your face, but you want to try that. It's a bad thing. Your mom and dad will tell you, if you do this, the water will splash in your eye and it will burn your eye. But you want to go on the slide.
Yeah.
You don't care.
Yeah.
You want to see what's the slide about. This is life. If you want to just listen to other people and take lessons, just the whole lecture throughout life, you might as well die today,
Yeah.
and dream about things because you're not experiencing firsthand. Just to finish off this, I read something from, well, this was a Persian translation of a script. It's better if I can later on find the script rather than
Mentioning it.
translating it from Farsi back into English, because a lot of meanings will get lost both ways around. But it was about this. It was about people want to experience, even
Live.
if it's bad.
Want
Yeah,
to live.
yeah. It's the curiosity. These two make life bearable. You know, you put up with all difficulties of life, and you enjoy it. You know, because of these two. Otherwise, everyone knows that you can just relieve yourself from playing this whole game.
Yeah. But how would we know what joy is if we didn't have moments of pain?
That's also true, of course. That's
Like,
you have to have the contrast. You can always
you
compare.
cannot
Yes.
not have a life of
It's up and down
any
makes
pain in
sense.
your life.
Yeah.
Mm.
Up and down, positive and the negative makes sense. Otherwise,
There's no difference.
there's no different. Better and more better, more better, but not bad.
Yeah.
It cannot happen.
Yeah.
It can never exist.
It's okay.
A world, a peaceful world. All of this, we want it. Of course, everyone wants a peaceful world. Everyone wants. It will never happen.
It will never happen.
It will never happen. Unfortunately, sad truth. You know, there is no such thing.
Yeah.
There's no such happiness.
Yeah. That's so true. Okay. So in conclusion, you can do you can do start overs, and you can start again in life,
Of
and you
course.
can get back up, and no matter the how big the failure is, it will still be fine. You can still get back up
The
again.
bigger the failure, the bigger your determination needs to be to
Yeah,
get back up.
exactly.
It's like falling in a cliff.
Yeah,
The deeper the cliff, the more you have to struggle to come out of it.
yeah.
You know?
But it's just a matter of time and effort, and
Yes.
that's what it comes to.
That's
That's
why
it.
that's why people don't take big risks.
Yeah,
Because if they fail bigger.
yeah,
You know, if you
exactly.
yeah. But I encourage people as a person who takes and like to take bigger risks compared to the traditional average risk factors. I encourage people to take risks.
Yeah,
They get to live, they get to experience things, and then they need to find it within themselves to be strong to repel all the sadness that comes after it, the disappointments, all the negative things that come with it. You need to find it within yourself to face it. Say it happened. This happened. To look at yourself and say, yes, I failed at this business.
mm.
I went bankrupt.
And
I
we
failed at this relationship. I got cheated on. And they left me.
and we move on.
Yes. Try to take some lessons with it so it doesn't happen exactly in the same way,
Yeah,
and you try something new. And if you fail in that new thing, that's fine. As long as you do something different,
as long
you
as you do
try to
something
make it
different.
better.
Yeah,
If you don't, it's fine. But not stuck on an endless loop of making the exact same mistake without
forever.
changing anything. Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's it for today. And I think it's a very good lesson we learned today about starting over. And as always, if you have any comments or if anything that you guys want us to talk about, just leave it in the comments. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.